Welcome to the Loveable as Fuck show with Sherry Yazzie. I am a plus-size Indigenous woman in a world that tells me not to love myself. I fucking do. Here's how I do it. For more on how to defuck yourself, love yourself, and my emotional resiliency magnifying, life-transforming mindset hacks and self-care tools that you need to know now in order to transform your life and be happy as fuck, go to beloveableaf.com. That's BELOVEABLEAF.com. How to set personal boundaries and protect your energy. This one is crucial for any badass woman who's got shit to do, things calling her in her life, things that are important to her. This is the one. So I'm so excited to be talking about that today. Boundaries, I saw this somewhere and I was like, this is the perfect way to explain boundaries. It's the place where I can love me and you at the same time, right? Because think about when you sell out on your boundaries. When you have a boundary and you let someone push it, you let someone over it, you feel like you sold yourself out. It's hard. And for me, when I do that I tend to feel shitty, right? And it's creating, like when you sell yourself out, it is harder to feel that self-esteem, to feel good about you, right? And so then it's easier to let another person over that boundary and another person. And so it's this perpetuating motion machine the wrong way. But the good news is once you start practicing boundaries, it's a perpetuating motion machine the other way, where you practice your boundaries, you state them really clearly, really easily. You don't get super invested and pissed off with other people. And then people start respecting them, and then you feel better, and then that relationship is easier, and then it just gets better and better and better. So how do we set personal boundaries, right? Because you have work boundaries, relationship boundaries, family boundaries. There's just boundaries all over the goddamn place, right? And boundaries truly, truly are what has life either working or not. So think about, have you ever watched one of those movies where the mom gets pressured into doing the PTA bake sale thing? And, she's like, oh, God, I can't do this. I don't have enough time. And when she lists off, you're seeing all the things she has to do. And then she's baking muffins on top of that. And I am just sitting back with my arms crossed being like, what? This is bullshit. It's so out of the realm for me, right? Because literally I wouldn't volunteer unless I was unless I had a plan, and I wouldn't volunteer unless I wasn't the only one doing it. Like if my kids were helping, my child was helping me, my husband, that's how I would do it and make it something fun, right? So this is the thing. When we, and here's another part of this with the boundaries. If we don't have any real idea where we're going and what we want, it is so easy to just go along with other people's stuff. And you can go along and go along and go along and be like, years down the road going, what the fuck? This is not how I wanted my life to look. So boundaries for me started to come when I got clear what I wanted. How did I want my relationship to be? How did I want my my partner, to show up for me? What did I want? Now, this is not about controlling any other party. This is being super clear what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Being willing to communicate it out of your mouth, because people are not supposed to mind read your shit. Can you imagine if people could actually mind read your shit? You might be like, and when I thought about killing you, I was just kidding. You know what I mean? No. We say these words out of our mouths to form the boundaries and let people know what it is we want, what it is we expect. And for as far as parenting goes, it is really crucial. There's studies and everything that state if your children know what's expected of them, they have a better shot. If it's just all very willy-nilly, it's so much harder for them. There's no guidance there. And if you're like in my childhood, it was there wasn't a lot of guidance. I didn't know what I was or wasn't supposed to do until I did it, and then it was a big fucking issue. That never feels good. So creating these boundaries, letting them know, whether that's house rules, requests of your partner in how you guys communicate. So me and my husband have some rules that we don't call each other names, even in fights. Okay. That was the one that we had to come up with. And I mean, like, we kind of jokingly tease each other with names, but when we're seriously in a fight, it's totally out of integrity if you call the other one a name. So these kind of boundaries are super useful, because the more that you actually practice them, then things work better. Because you think about, okay, let's say you have a fight and your normal is to be like, you're the biggest asshole on earth. And then of course it devolves from there, because nobody likes to get called an asshole. But what if you don't say that anymore because you guys have that rule, and then maybe another kind of communication can come about? Like, that really hurt my feelings when you said this, which is what you meant by asshole, but it's going to come across a lot better. So it's just the stuff that helps your relationships work, whether it's your partner, your kids, your work, your friendships, literally even friendships, right? So you think about, if you have a friend who, like, I had a friend who basically it was always a miracle if she showed up. And so what I got really clear on was like, hey, I get it. You have a much busier life than I do. That's fine. I just need you to call me if you're going to cancel, and call me as soon as you know, so I have some room. So I'm not all ready to go and everything. See, that's a regular boundary. So, but here's the other part of this. I think sometimes we think that someone else is going to help us set that boundary. They're not. If it's important to you, you're the one who needs to figure it out, communicate it out loud. And then here's the third part. Do not tell them how to do it. Don't try to figure it out for them. Make the communication. Stand up and walk your ass away. This was one of the things that was key for me, because it wasn't be that I just figured out I stated what I wanted. Then I would literally try to tell my partner how to do it all. And that didn't ever feel good. Didn't feel good to him. It didn't feel good to me. It wasn't until I started saying, okay, this is how I'm feeling, and this is what I would like, and this is what I would like for my partner, and this is how I would like it to go. And then just pieced out there. And then he stepped up and figured it out. And let me tell you, that felt good, because I was no longer doing the labor of trying to teach him how to do it. He figured it out in his own way, how he wanted to show up or not. Because again, this isn't about control. This is about setting your standards, what feels good to you. And why is this so crucial? Well, protecting your energy, to me, is one of the number one things that I do. It's as important as eating for me, right? Because I have to eat to live, but I need energy to live as well, right? It's maybe not as important as drinking water, but it's up there, right? Because your energy is the key to all of the things that you want to do. So think about, if you have had a cold, you're just not feeling well, you're under the weather, every fucking thing you need to do seems hard. It takes extra long. You have to really truly get up to do it, I remember when my son was a baby, we all got this intense, horrible stomach flu. And I got it first. And so I was ill, so sick. And then by the time my son had it, what worked for me is if I could hold really still and nobody would touch me or jostle me in any manner, and then I felt okay. But my son was sick, and what he wanted to do is he wanted me to hold him so he could throw up down my back. Literally, that's how he wanted to do it. He was a baby. It was brutal. This was one of those times where you just get through, right? And everything was hard, right? Taking care of him was so much worse because I felt so horrible. That's what it's like to me to try to do things with low energy. Because when you have shitty energy, everything else takes longer. It's always harder. It's more frustrating. It seems like everything starts to pile up. If you've ever stubbed your toe and then you spilled something and then you drop your purse and then it's just one after another and it just starts stacking one on top of another until you're just fuck this whole day, I should go back to bed. When you have stellar energy, it's just different.
You might still stub your toe because shit happens, but you know what I mean? It's not like, oh man, this day's ruined. There's not any of that. It's like, oh, that hurts. Okay. When you get feeling, you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go. So energy is so crucial to all of the things that we do. If you're cared for and feel really good, your energy to deal with whatever your children are doing or whatever your spouse is doing is on a whole other level than if you are on your last goddamn straw. You are holding on by this tiny little thread. One wrong thing from anybody in your life and you are have just fucking gone off, right? That's the difference between energy. And for those of us, if you can relate to this, who kind of pick up other people's energies, this last year of the pandemic and all of the things, right? The amount of feelings out in the world right now, it's overwhelming. There's a lot of them, right? And we can pick up on those, the sadness, the anger, the upset, there's so much. And that can be pulling down your energy, plus just your health and all the to-do lists and the stress. And, depending on what your money situation looks like or doesn't look like all of these things are happening all the time. So it is so crucial that any way that we can, we protect our energy, because our energy is the lifeblood of creating the life that we want. It's the lifeblood of us standing up, remembering who we are, saying, fuck everybody, I'm here. And I'm here to be me, right? All y'all haters. No, but really, standing up and really going after what it is that you want. Because why are we here on earth? Is it just to get by another day, just to pay more bills, lose some more weight? No. There's a bigger purpose for you. If you're a badass woman listening to this, I know there's a bigger purpose for you. So it's so key that we protect our energy. And to to help you with that, I have a training over on YouTube called Become Bulletproof. It's my channel is Loveable AF, and you can check it out for totally free, no opt-ins or anything, and it will literally help you, if you're like me who take on other people's energies, to keep your own energy, right? And then basically let that energy that comes at you bounce off or slide down. How cool is that, you guys? So again, over on YouTube, Become Bulletproof is the training. All right, so let's get back into boundaries. Boundaries can look all different kinds of ways, right? Literally, it can be, hey, between this time and this time, it's me time, you guys. Whether that's you tell your kids that, you lock the door, you let them know, even if they come knocking, you're like, it's me time. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't mean necessarily taking lovely long baths, but it can. But maybe it's literally laying there staring at the ceiling, getting some quiet, right? It can be anything, but whatever it is you need. And this is the thing I find with women who are run down, their batteries are so low. It's like all of us have things going on, right? We all do. And we all make choices. There are always trade-offs. If we're always trading away the time that we use to recharge, we're actually not just cheating ourselves, we're cheating our families, we're cheating our partners. Literally, we're cheating everybody that we come into contact with. But most importantly, we are cheating ourselves. And that's the thing. That's why for me, boundaries are so crucial. They are the way that I create a life that I'm excited about, that I want to live, that I enjoy on a regular basis. This isn't just, it's like a life that you don't have to have a vacation from. A life that you're just excited and proud when you go to bed to have lived. A life that you're excited to live when you wake up. Boundaries are the lifeblood of that. They're the keys to that. And sometimes they can be hard or scary. So let's talk a little bit about boundaries. When you first start, okay, so let's just back up all the way here. Let's say you're like, okay, Sherry, I've been listening. I totally want to start setting some boundaries. Cool. Sit down, with a pen and paper, or think about it, whichever works best for you, and figure out what it is you would like. How would you like it to go? Is there some place you can get some support? Some place you can get some alone time? Some place you need something in your relationship or with your kids? Is there just start figuring out, is there a way to work it out better for yourself? Let's say you do most of the household chores, which I don't recommend. Figure out a way to delegate that. Have kids be doing it, partners be doing it, hire someone, whatever it needs to look like for you. Actually sit down and figure that out. And then once you have the boundaries, and maybe it's just even a conversation, maybe somebody keeps pushing, it's like, I'll give you an example. Somebody in my family was very religious, and they thought that it was really crucial that I be religious. And I am not. I'm like the very, very opposite end of that. I am so not. And for years, I don't mean we're not talking just occasionally. It was all the time for years when I was a child. And then it was slower, less, but it was still there. And then it was years would go by, and then boom, another invite to church. And this is what I'll say. For me, I was really able to get that this person meant well, out of their entire life, this was the thing that was most important to them. The thing that they were taught was the way to be, and they just wanted to share that with me. So I wasn't angry anymore. Every time I set the boundary, I wasn't bothered, but I just very clearly, that's not for me. Thank you. That's not for me. Thank you. No, thank you. I'm not going to do that. And then it got further and further and further, and between invites, requests, between mentionings. And the more I just kind of held that space, the easier the boundaries got, to set, right? And now it's not actually a thing. They haven't mentioned it in some years now, but we're talking over years, okay? So with boundaries, it's always going to be dependent on how close the relationship is, how much it means to you, how much whatever this person, what it means to them, and then how clearly and consistently you can hold those boundaries. Because the more clear and more consistent you are, the easier it is to set the boundaries. And then eventually you don't even need to set them because people understand, oh, this is the way it is with her. And it gets easier and easier. But other people, expecting them to do the work for you is going to disappoint you, right? And expecting them to be different also, I think, is going to disappoint you. For me, the best thing has always just been getting very clear. So let's use the religious example. I knew it wasn't for me. I got very clear at a young age. It was not the place for me. I did try a couple of times, and it was absolutely wrong for me. And so at first I felt really bad, guilty, because I wanted this person to love me, and they do, but I wanted to make them happy, but not badly enough to sell out on the values that I was feeling, even when I was young, a child. So I started to just say no and say no and say no. And then it got to be where I kind of started to grasp that they were asking because of their stuff, not me, and not that there was something wrong with me, that this was about them. And the more that I got that, the easier it was for me to continue to set that boundary. The easier it was for me to communicate, and it wasn't even a problem anymore, if that makes sense. So when you do this, the repetition of it actually is the thing that makes a difference. And then it gets to be even people who literally don't respect boundaries usually at all, they will start respecting yours. I have some pretty large boundaries. So, which is an interesting thing. So when we're in a city, this is obviously pre-COVID times, when we're in a city, I've had somebody come up, start walking towards me, clearly to ask me for money. They look at my face and they will walk all the way around the car to ask my husband, which is funny. I actually do usually give money, but it's my boundary that says no. Nobody next to me, you guys. You're strangers. You stay over there. And it's a boundary I don't even have to think about anymore. It's a boundary that is just there. And I actually appreciate that, because then I'm not ambushed. I can give money when I choose to, but I don't get that, getting surprised in the parking lot, which I do not appreciate. That's always a little jarring and scary to me. So, because usually it's a man, right? And so you're a woman, and then there's a guy, by your car, and it's like, But the practice of setting these boundaries means that it's easier and easier for you. Literally, I tell my son, hey, I'm going to be doing a video, or I'm going to be doing a meeting, and he just knows, right? If I need some time, I request it. If I need some time away, I take it. And your household they'll be fine. And they'll figure out how to work with that. You don't have to continue doing any of the things that you felt like you had to do. You literally can find creative ways, and the household will survive. The kids will be fine. Your partner will be fine. Literally, they figure out a way when it's so clear that you are really committed to this. It's when you have that wavering, oh man, maybe I'm not worth this. Maybe I'm, that the only time, that it can kind of, it's harder when you do that. These kind of boundaries are really getting clear what it is you want. So I encourage you to stop and ask if there's anything in your life that you would like, anything in your life that is not going the way you would like, and if there's a way that you can put a boundary there. And here's the thing about a boundary. You need to make the communication, and if there's a consequence, you need to follow through. So some boundaries, like the religion thing, there was never a consequence. I just always said no, thank you, and moved on. But then there are other boundaries, right? For my son, he has to work out before he can get on the computer. And so when he doesn't do that, then there's a consequence. And the more you follow through on that, then the easier and easier it becomes to create the boundary and have it stick. So my favorite thing, get clear on it, communicate it, walk away. Seriously. Let them figure it out. Let them show up for you. It is really a relief when people that love you can do that, when they show up for you, when you set that boundary. And if people are trying to infringe, just calmly communicate. And for me, it was just easy to unhook the emotion around it, right? Because that was the thing, is I could have made it mean that this person around the religion thought that I was not okay as I was, or there was something wrong with me, or I was screwing up as a mom, or all these things. But I really, truly don't believe that. I unhooked that. Those are things I could have thought and possibly had to work out. But I really, truly, we talked about this in some others, usually people come at you with what's about them, not about you, right? So unhooking any of that so that you can just have these clean communications, and they don't have to be exhausting. And also, the more you practice it, the easier it is. Just like anything, it's like a muscle. The more you build it, pretty soon you're like, oh yeah, I got this boundary stuff, no problem, it's on lock. And then you look around and go, holy shit, my life was working better. It's pretty neat. So let me know, you guys, in the comments and all around, what boundaries you're setting. I would love to hear. In case nobody has told you yet today, you are lovable as fuck just the way you are. To send me your questions or stories, email me at lovableafshow@gmail.com. If you love the show, please comment, like, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you're listening on the podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to help me get this show in front of more women who need to know that they are lovable as fuck just as they are. Check out the show notes or go to belovableaf.com. That's belovableaf.com for more of how to unfuck yourself, love yourself, and be happy no matter your size. I said it before and I will say it again. You are lovable as fuck just as you are.